And he's frozen, and he's muted. Beautiful.
All right. Well, you know.
Good evening, everybody. This is Gary 111. Welcome to it.
We're going to talk to Chuck.
Yeah,
with our host in a perpetual fugue state
on Gary's show.
At least he's got a smile on his face every time, and every time we go live, he goes like this. So now it is our show. It's the Canadian show. This is my brother Mark, and we're going to talk to Chucky tonight.
Yeah, that's my good friend Steve.
Yep,
that's right.
And does not live in Toronto, just lives north of Toronto.
Yeah, just a little bit north of Toronto.
Yeah, see, and I'm way south of Toronto, so there's that too.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah.
So Gary loves this when his internet just goes berserk right as soon as we start the show, because one of his people in his household decided to download something massive and said, "Hey, this is a good time to download right at 8 o'clock every single Tuesday when I know he goes live."
So as we take a look here, we want to go in. There we go.
There's Gary.
As soon as it went to the intro play, because it kicked me as soon as I hit start.
You had a great look on your face, and you were frozen and muted.
Did the intro play?
Yes, it did.
Oh yeah, the intro played.
We're good. We're starting.
Yeah, we're live. We're in business.
We're live. I'm like, the whole computer shut down. I'm like, what just happened? We're laughing, and then it's gone.
Yep, that's okay. We carried on, Gary. We always carry on without you.
I hope I had a sufficiently stupid look on my face when I
actually you look good. You had a nice smile. It looked like you were posing. I was impressed.
See, Mark, shame on you. You're an officer of the law. You shouldn't lie.
I didn't. I was very forthright.
You'll see it on the replay. It's all good.
It's all good.
Well, welcome to the 1011, guys. Joining me as always, Steve the Voice White. Steve, how you doing tonight, sir?
G'day.
Right? And I know, deja vu. We have Mr. Mark Andrews in the other corner down here. Mark, how you doing tonight, sir?
I am doing very, very well. Gary, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And, of course, our guest of honor, making his 10th appearance, we have Mr. Chuck Hensey. He's trying to get up there with Mark Andrews and tie him. Chuck, how you doing tonight, sir? Great to have you back.
We're doing great. It is a wonderful day.
Yeah, you look ready to go. We're going to do like we normally do. First, we're going to say, if you guys haven't, Chuck was just on Rob's channel I almost said the old show.
That's all right. Only Slabs.
Only Slabs. Right. So go check out his episode of Only Slabs from last Saturday. I almost said the first one because I'm so used to the old one. But he's got great books there. He's doing great books tonight. He's doing Atlas Seaboard 1011. Nice. Now, Chuck, before we say hi to the audience, who are you? Where can they find you on the YouTubes and on the IGs, and let them know?
Well, I'm Chuck, and you guys can find me often here and over at Anachronic Comics. I love comic books. I love talking about comic books, and it's great to have a community where we can share the wonderful things we have with people who appreciate them, as opposed to people who stare at us and go, "Why did you spend money on that?" So it's nice to find the other 1%. So it's great. And I love to collect everything. I love comics. I love the history of comics, and I think we've got some great stuff tonight. From the rocking 1970s. So
sweet.
Nice. Well, let's say a quick hello to the people that are joining us. We had Steve saying hello to everybody. We have Mr. John's Comics with Kids. And again, a great episode with you and John with the movies. That was excellent.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, yep. We have the best blue wrench in the business, Miss Tina. How you doing tonight? We have Mr. Doug Bratton. Good evening, sir.
I know.
Great author.
Brian LCS, good evening. Great to see you.
Hey, Brian.
There we go.
We have the Jackson Roykirk. Yeah, that's why I got kicked. It was those bad buys from Jackson Roykirk.
It's always him.
That's right.
It is, right? All right, we have Chuck saying hello to everybody.
That's right.
And
A red wine.
we got a lot of conversation going. All right. And as we're getting more people, when they get their notifications, I will give them a quick tip of the hat as usual. But this show is all about you. You'll get some not necessary color commentary from the three of us from off here and there. But Chuck, let's start out with your first book, sir.
All right, so we're going to be looking at Atlas Seaboard Comics, and this is sort of the original Image. You might think of them in many ways. A group of guys who, Martin Goodman, who had run Marvel Comics for a while, decided to break off and create his own line of comics. And he used, of course, the old name that was formerly Marvel during the 1950s, that is Atlas Comics. And they went out of their way to get the best talent they could at the time period. And much like Image Comics, they decided to produce a lot of products and basically sort of flood the market with everything. Now, unlike Image, they didn't really have the direct market to help them out. And I think it was really hard for them to track sales. And so while their concepts, as we're going to see, are not necessarily the most original in the world, one could argue, as some of us who live through Image, that Image was not always the most original in the world. You know, I mean, in both sets, you know, Liefeld's people didn't have feet, so, or they had too many feet, but be that as it may. So we're going to kind of look at some of the different genres that were there, and very much the Atlas sort of took a throw everything at the wall and see if it, yes. Doug does point out that they did force an increase in pay, and at times also give out royalties, and especially as we look at the late Peter David passing this past weekend, and the financial state that he was in spite of the huge volumes of materials that he published over the years. I mean, I think I have at least 5 long boxes of Peter David stuff downstairs.
And even his stuff he did in Maestro the last 5 years was great. Those miniseries were spectacular.
Yeah,
exactly. So, you know, so the issue of comic writers and artists not being paid well, unfortunately, is a time-honored tale. So, so we're going to start off with Gary's favorite genre, that is the barbarian genre, which, of course, was so popular back then. And so they really decided to go after the barbarian stuff.
Making a comeback.
We're talking again, 73, 74, 75. So Conan is a huge hit at the time. And so they come out with their own versions of Conan, or sort of 2 different barbarian sets here. We have, of course, Iron Jaw, which starts off, right? And I'm not going to show every single one of the issues. Most of these series only lasted 4 issues. So we're not really going to, you know, show all 4 issues in a lot of the series, but just some of the covers you may not have seen. The great news is that for most of these books, they are affordable as back issues. So if you're interested in collecting them and getting the vast majority of them, you can find them relatively cheaply, especially if you're not being a grade snob on them. You can find them really cheaply.
Is you'll get left on some cliffhangers that'll never be resolved.
Well, there is that, but you know, it's okay. So we do have Iron Jaw, which went 4 issues, and then you also had a single appearance in Barbarians. So clearly this sold at least fairly decently to give him this extra appearance. And you know, it's a fun read. It's not we're not recreating something brand new, but it's enjoyable and fun. Sort of a what if Conan and Claw the Conqueror ran into each other, and instead of losing a hand, you lost your jaw.
Now that one that you're holding right there, Chuck, that was my first ever Atlas Seaboard book.
Ah, cool. It's a good read too.
That's what got me into Atlas Seaboard.
Cool. Yeah, and I want to say, you know, these are 1970s books. For all the good, bad, and indifferent associated with that, they are 1970s books. So, you know, once you understand that, you know, they're fine, so long as you don't have high hopes for some of them. So, the other
stories.
Now, if that doesn't inspire you to go out there and find them, nothing will.
Well, but
I think that's underselling them some. They did like everyone else.
The stories suck.
Well, they did have a couple where the stories were great,
1970s,
but some were actually really good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. And I don't want to. And I didn't mean to. Sorry, I didn't mean to. They don't suck, but they're Bronze Age 1970s books. Yeah. And so they're told in that style and everything. And if you're good with that, they're wonderful. They're also not everybody's cup of tea. The other series that's in this genre is Wolf. You know, who of course even tells you he's a barbarian. just in case you weren't sure by his getup, because
with the
apparently
blonde
someone
flowing
mistaken him for
Fabio
a
hair.
chorus girl. So
and the classic red dress.
Yeah.
Yes, and she's wearing the classic, and we have the squid showing up. So you really you can't go wrong with that. And this is also again another fun title that ran four issues, and there is some great art in these books. All joking aside, you are talking about people like Neil Adams, Rich Buckler, who created Iron Jaw. We're talking about top-notch artists here, really doing a lot of great stuff.
Steve Ditko.
Yes, Ditko does some stuff. And I agree with Sleepy, by the way. There was a lot of potential there, I think, if they had been able to stick around and figure out what was going on, But this is the thing. Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
The books look well done. The colors are great. It's in that Marvel style.
Yeah.
What happened? They just didn't sell well?
Well, they didn't know. Part of the problem is they didn't know how they sold. Because your market information was so, there was no direct market.
Yeah.
So you were trying to estimate based off of what went out to the newsstands and everywhere. And you had no idea. And so I think that's part of the problem. And then as we're going to see with some titles, they then turn around and they do, as Jackson's alluding to, then they turn around on some of them before they really get any data and immediately change the tone of the book. And thus you're kind of left looking at it going, well, what the hell is this? Because this is not what I signed up for. Yeah. So that's the first genre we wanted to mention here. And the first one's with the Barbarian titles. So
I really think some of those artists that came to Atlas, and especially in the 70s, were trying to get another title out there and get, so it wasn't just Marvel and DC.
Right.
Like, they were doing everything they could, because I don't think there was a lot of money exchanged for some of the books that those guys did. Those big name artists did.
No.
So
yeah, and they had ownership of these characters. So we're going to see a couple of characters which actually went over from Atlas to primarily Marvel in different forms. And so there is that too. So the next one, and I didn't count out to exact 10s because some of these series are super short. So, but the next one I want to mention, which is one of my favorites, is the Grim Ghost.
Oh yeah, there's a good one. I like that story.
With just spectacular story.
Yeah.
A really, really great cover here.
Yeah, that's some rich artwork.
The number 2, I find, even has a better cover in many ways.
Yep.
With that really striking, almost Charlton-esque horror look on it.
This
looks
just a great
like
trade dress.
Yeah,
it is. It is.
Charlton is. It just screams like Charlton with the red background, the individual. Like, it's just
It has very much the feel of one of those haunteds or something like that.
Yep.
And the story on this is not. It's actually pretty good. And it's interesting because they tried a revival of Atlas about 10, 12 years ago. Someone bought the rights to these, and the Grim Ghost is one of the 2 series that they tried to bring back. And it just it didn't work. It wasn't awful, but it didn't work. So, but this was one of those that had a lot. Now, I also like supernatural characters. So I will give you that caveat. I like supernatural characters. So for me, this was just a lot of fun and really, really good to look at. So let me pull up. There we go. All right. Awesome. Let's see here. Just 1 minute. I've got some notes up for myself because I couldn't keep up with quite all of these people. Because they're
great covers and great colors, and I mean that's almost a ripoff of the Grimm's Ghost story in their trade dress too.
Yeah, but but so much of that was going on at the time that
everybody ripped everybody off.
Exactly.
Like DC and Marvel constantly did that to each other.
Well, and you have the artists that were working at the other 2 working on this, so you're going to have styles that look alike.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so many of them were actually even sharing apartments and stuff together. So I mean, there was that. There are the stories of some of these guys who were sharing apartments and staying with each other, and and all those other things. So
yeah, Tina, they do look in great shape.
Yeah, they do.
Nice high
I
grade.
suspect strongly that they're all an 8.5.
I suspect they're all in pretty good shape. Let's put it this way. We try to take care of things. So,
which is nice for 70s books. So sometimes it's not easy to find them in good shape.
yeah. Well, part of the trick is buying them early. So
I've heard recently that if it's not an 8.5, Chuck won't buy it.
Well, I hear that too, but some people are just crazy.
Rumors.
So.
I also heard, Mark, if it's below an 8.5, he just sends it off to friends.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Some
Especially
people
this guy named
So
Gary.
you might be getting a package, Mark.
Mark may not want them. So next up, we talked about some of the great artists who were doing a lot of these. So here we have the Destructor.
Nice.
Oh, that's a fun one too.
With a classic cover. And of course, this is a book done by both Steve Ditko and Wally Woods on the inside.
Yep.
And
no one's ever heard of those two guys.
Right. No. They never amounted to anything. So, and Ditko's in that phase where he's really falling out with Marvel. He's doing stuff with DC. He's not really doing anything with anybody else. He's doing stuff with Charlton, which, probably paid him a cup of coffee and bus fare. And, the opportunity to actually be able to create his own character and, potentially make money off of it, I'm sure was really, really enticing. And this is another one of those 4-issue series. There is that one.
So whenever I read that title, Chuck, The Destructor, I read it and I can't help myself because I'm a big Kids in the Hall fan. And the one where you go, the Eradicator. And I'm always like,
the Destructor with a K.
Well, yes. And this is also written by Archie Goodwin, who, is a longtime Marvel guy.
Yep.
So, it definitely has that feel of the fun Bronze Age Marvel stories. And he would have fit very much in New York City with Peter Parker and the rest of the crowd. He would have been just right at home with them. So, and this guy looks like, he looks like your generic, Marvel villain guy. I mean, he's desperate.
Like Lizard Man or something.
He's green, so he's got to be a Marvel bad guy. He's green.
Well, it does help that he maintained the correct color palette. So that's
the Destructor looks just like Spider-Man. Oh wait, maybe not.
Who could imagine with Archie Goodwin and Steve Ditko on it? So
that they would do like a blue and red costume.
Yeah, and the heroine is hanging on by her skin, by her nails, from a grisly fall from a height for death. Like, I mean, that's very original.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's good to know to make sure that when you've got your cliffhanger that she's actually hanging from a cliff. That's why we call it a cliffhanger. So, and if anyone in there had kids during the early 2000s, you would know that reference from PBS. And if you don't, I'm sorry, your kids missed out on a good TV show. So
ask Alexa.
Alexa's going to go, why are you asking me this? So we mentioned, of course, there are lots of different genres here. Another genre they went after, of course, was the hard-bitten spy and the natural crime fighter. And so here we have for the third one here, we've got Target.
Cool.
Who's not sure how to spell his name, so he put 2 T's on it.
The double dose of tea,
just so you wouldn't miss it. But this is another one of those books where you could tell they really didn't have a feel for what tone they wanted for it, because you get the first 2 issues and you got John Target looking like, your normal cop from the 1970s with the sweatshirt and everything. And then all of a sudden, this first issue, and then all of a sudden issue number 2.
Oh, way more dynamic.
He gets this thing.
Well, what says Manstalker now?
Yeah, and is
that him wearing the costume now?
That's him wearing the costume, yes.
Complete tonal change.
Bullseye.
Yeah. Complete tonal change. And, if you had someone who really liked the detective story in the first one.
Not anymore.
You get to this thing and it's something completely and utterly different. So.
Yeah, but that man stalker really pops out.
It does, and especially against the train there. So,
Atlas's trade dresses were good. They were really good.
Were.
Like
yes.
They did so many things that were right, but that's a classic example, Chuck, you're right, of what are you doing? That he's in spandex. He shouldn't be in spandex. He should be in comfortable slacks.
And after one issue, like you didn't even give the character time to grow on somebody.
Yeah,
exactly. Yes, and the frustrating thing with this is it just runs a couple of issues. It was written by a guy named Rick Myers, who I've never heard of, but it's a Dick Giordano cover for number 1, and this is by Frank Thorne here, so this is number 2. So you've got some great people doing the work, but if you read a lot of the DC and the Marvel from that era, you get these same really abrupt tonal shifts that make absolutely no sense. I mean, I've got a run of Avengers it's practically unreadable for a while because they start a storyline, then they stop it, and then you get 5 fill-in issues, and then maybe you go back to the storyline, and maybe you don't, and by then we've done 6 other things, and
Avengers 200.
I'm just talking about like the Hellcat saga and getting Hellcat and all of that stuff in the 120s and 130s, and you had to be a real diehard to read it to keep up.
I'm curious if you're going to show my favorite Frank Thorne cover from them. So I'll be watching.
I don't know, but we will see. So we might. I don't know which one that is. So
I know I'm not telling you. It'll be a surprise if you show it.
You didn't message me ahead of time, so I didn't know. So other tonal stuff here, like I said, they're throwing everything at the wall. So they also did a little bit of horror too, and like real horror. And so they did a horror anthology here with Tales of Evil.
Yep,
which is a fantastic cover.
Oh, gee,
this is
like
a
Werewolf by Night at all.
I know, but it's a fantastic werewolf cover, though.
It is.
I mean,
and again, an incredibly cool trade dress. Like,
yes, some great design here. And
orange dress in distress.
Well,
well, actually, the guy
she had to wear a different outfit. I mean, come on now, she can't wear the same one in every book. They had a bigger budget than that.
What an awesome cover, though.
How many issues were in that one, Chuck? I can't remember.
What's that?
How many issues?
This was 3 issues, I believe.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah, this was also a 3 issues.
Yeah,
really, with these, they were either 4 issues, 3 issues, or 1. And so,
some of those stories were fun in those.
Oh yeah, well, here you got your Bog Beast.
Yep.
Oh, right on.
And
Tales of Evil.
That's right. And I love, and the Bog Beast has a cool design to it. I mean,
it does. Yeah. That is pretty wicked.
So, so again, these are not bad. So,
and Bog Beast is a cool name.
See you, Doug.
Yeah.
Hey, Doug.
Yeah. Exactly. And he's kind of wild. He looks like he might hang out at a party with Swamp Thing or something. So, yeah,
him, Swamp Thing, and Man Thing, huh?
Yep.
Well, it's good to see everyone can compare Fungi together. So, but anyway, so again, this is kind of cool. This this series here is again, it's fun Bronze Age horror.
Yep.
So it's a good, well written Bronze Age horror book, and so.
And worth having just for the excellent covers. Even if it was bad inside, the covers are so good.
The artwork is amazing.
But it happens to be good inside too.
Exactly. And that's the frustrating thing with a lot of these books. There is so much potential here with a lot of these series.
And it just went nowhere. That's too bad.
And then you just kind of shrug your shoulders and go, well, now what? I can't believe this. So,
it's up to us to write the stories down.
That's right. Another series that was out there, you talk about early Hispanic heroes. This guy actually appeared starting off in a magazine, Thrilling Adventures. Nice. But here you have the Tiger Man.
And that gets made fun of, but that was actually a good read. I enjoyed it. The black and white was really good.
The black and white is great. I don't really like this cover, though. I don't know. Something about the way he is designed.
He had the worst covers for sure. But
the look on the dude's face. Is he like yellow or green or something there? It looks,
Yeah, the color palette here is kind of...
it's messed up.
the orange and the blue just don't do it. So yeah.
And you know what? Of all the trade dresses, although I like them, this one is my least favorite. That it's like you could have done. They did so many other cool trade dresses, like that one that looks like they went, "Oh God, we didn't do a trade dress. We got to get it done."
There's no effort.
We need to slap something up there.
Yeah,
Bobby, do you have the Thrilling Adventures one by any chance? Because that's where he first appears. So just letting you. That's a black and white magazine. Just to let you, just to mention there. So, yeah, this has a real tragic story behind it. I mean, this character, has a lot more sort of depth to him. So, but like I said, I just the art on this cover just doesn't do it for me, unfortunately.
It's confusing too, trying to figure out what the hell's going on, and this dude just standing there all casually in his little pantsuit, and this dude's hunched over the chick there, and then Buddy's coming in the back there with what the hell's he carrying in his hand, like a lamp or something?
Yeah, it's
like he's dragging the lamp.
It's the lamp in the room is on. He's carrying a gun, I think. So
okay,
yeah, exactly. But this is pretty much a straight up superhero story. So, all right,
and it was approved by the Comic Code Authority.
God bless them. All right. Back to science fiction, and again, Gary, I'm not keeping count, so we'll just kind of run with it here.
Yep.
Gary's not keeping count either, Chuck. It's okay.
That's good.
He writes them down.
Is he okay? What are we on, Gary?
Yeah.
We have one of my favorite sci-fi ones, at least for the first 2 issues, and then the third one again gets a little wild, and that's Morlock 2001.
Now that's a cool cover.
It's a cool title too.
It is
2001.
Jackson, I thought about bringing all of them, and I just I'm not quite up for that today. So but you're right, and Jackson brings up a good point here. There's 25 series, so you can collect them all relatively easy.
Yep.
It's when you start going after the magazines and one other title that it gets a little challenging. But if you want to track down Morlock 2001, you can track down Morlock 2001 without any real serious effort. But this is a book that also takes a big tonal shift, and I couldn't find my 3 tonight, but you can kind of see here they're kind of hinting that
that's deep,
that something is not quite right. So but it's a great cover. I mean, again, this is a great this would have stood out. It was stood well with your New Gods and your Mr. Miracles and
the trade dress always reminded me of Logan's Run for some reason.
Yeah,
which is interesting because it predates Logan's Run.
Yeah.
So
wow. So who ripped off who there?
Jackson, if you're referring to the magazine, I think you are. The answer to that is no. But I had a chance to buy one and didn't have the money for it, so I'll reference it a little bit later. But yeah, so but this is a cool sci-fi. This is some neat sci-fi here, and I love comic. Yes, I've got that. Never mind. Okay, so but this is and again, and I like this because I love the time machine story, and again, the idea of it being 2001, seemed so far away in 1974,
right?
So
I know now we're all old and way past it.
Yeah.
Now we wouldn't mind. Some of us wouldn't mind going back to 2001, but that's different. So, along with the annals of sci-fi, you had a great mashup of sci-fi and horror, and this is probably my favorite title to read here.
That is such a good. All 3 issues of that are so good. I really wanted more. Like it's so well written.
Plants of the Vampire.
Damn, I think I have that one. I think I remember that story. It was really well done.
Yeah, I agree with Gary. I think this is probably the best written of all of them.
Yeah, I would agree with
is the one that I want to come back. And like Gary said, I really want to have more of. Though Demon Hunter is also in that category too.
And some tragedy in that too with
Yes. And right, Comics Mike is a great cover here. Again, bringing in a lot of the really, really super talented people, and I just love it. I mean, this screams 70s sci-fi to me.
100%.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I mean, that's a Buck Rogers homage cover.
Oh
if
yeah,
I've ever seen
Battlestar
one.
Galactica, all those. Space 1999.
I can see these guys popping up at a random Space 1999 with the crazy shape shifting lady showing up, and trying to check their minds and everything. And just in case you weren't sure it had vampires,
Oh yeah.
there's
There
your
we go.
issue 2 right there
Dracula.
Yep.
with your space vampires. So you can't go wrong with space vampires.
And it wasn't just your average
no.
story. They did a lot of cool things in that.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
It's
Dialogue was
series.
good. The interactions between the couples was great.
Yeah, it's like I said, it is a lot of fun. And it's one that's surprisingly held some value actually. So if you look at some of the back issue values, this is one of the ones that's actually got some value to it because it is really, really good. And then there's issue 3 here, in case you weren't sure if we wanted bondage or not. So
There we go.
there we go.
It's interesting how they changed the trade dress from the very first one to that.
Yeah, which is funny because I like the first one better.
So do I. I really like the
Yeah.
first one better than that one. It's I don't know why they did that. Again, it's
Everything about the first cover is just perfect.
Yeah, the first.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. But again, I think they felt a need to shake things up once they started seeing that their initial orders weren't going as well or the initial sales weren't going as well.
Mm-hmm.
And and you get that instinct to shake things up instead of giving things a chance to actually move forward. Since I've got 2 educators on the call with me, you know what it's like when we get a brand new education policy, 2 years after we got the old one. And we haven't given the new one a chance to actually get legs under it yet before you've given us a new one to fix the problems of the old one that never got anywhere. And
Yep.
and this has kind of that vibe to it,
Yep.
There's a
But this is one
7.5 for $49.99 on my
Yeah.
comic shop. It's a little low for you, I know. You being an 8.5, it's down to a 7.5. Maybe you could crack and press it.
they're Atlas Comics. I don't care. They're Atlas Comics.
$12 for a raw copy and fine, so that's not bad.
No, it's not bad
Issue
at all.
2 is about $8, and then issue 3 is $9.
Yeah, they're not. They do hold their value for higher grades. I kind of wonder sometimes when they started doing that nonsense with the trade dress, is they were trying to make it look like they're Atlas Comics. It's that yellow, the verticals, and
Mhm.
trying to look so that they would look unique on the spinner rack, which they didn't need to do.
Yeah, well, I think the guys running it, they really didn't. They sort of knew how to run a comic company, but not really. And I think you kind of get that feel here where you got ideas about what they want to do, but then there's the actual doing of it.
Mhm.
And as much as we lambast Stan Lee for being a huckster, because he was
You
an
could tell
effective.
for it.
That's his job.
He was an effective huckster, and and they, at least for a long while, were able to get books out on time. And then we hit the 70s, and then you need Jim Shooter, and well, enough said there. So that's a different show. That's a very different show. I did mention that some of these books, however, the creators were allowed to actually keep the characters, and so probably a lot of y'all will recognize this artist. I think
Scorpion.
the Scorpion. There, does anybody recognize the artist,
Nope.
or at least the writer?
It's not Kirby, is it?
No,
It's not square enough.
No.
Chuck Dixon, right?
No.
No, not Chuck. I'm sorry. The man stalker guy. Fuck, I can't think of his name.
No, not him. This is
No.
Howard Chaykin. This is early Howard Chaykin.
Yes, that's who I was thinking of.
Okay,
He did
yeah.
the man. He did the Moonstalker.
Yeah, he did Moonstalker. Yeah. So now Chaykin, of course, does the first 2 issues of this, and I'll show you the new direction they decided to go into. And so he just being Howard Chaykin, of course, he just tells them all to go to hell, and walks away. And then later takes this idea, and if you recognize the costume here, turns us into Dominic Fortune.
Yeah,
Over at
absolutely.
Marvel
That's
Comics.
Dominic Fortune.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he very much reads as Dominic. I mean, it's the same type of action adventure guy.
Yep.
So he just made him a lot older and put him back in more as a golden age type adventurer. So
And he didn't put him in tights.
No, and that's part of why he had an issue, because as you see here,
It's got more of the
this
Indiana
issue he's
Jones
not in
look to
tights
him.
yet, but he's moving
Yeah.
in that direction.
Yep.
Which means, of course, that by issue 3,
Oh no. Yep.
Yeah.
he's in tights.
All right.
And
they ruined him again.
Yeah, they ruined, and everybody's going, well, where is he? Who's that guy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And why is it red and blue all the time?
Yeah.
And we're on our own again, so we can continue.
So you can you forget the number, Chuck. Just keep
Well,
going.
Oh yeah.
well, that's good, because I got a
over
lot of
now.
singletons coming up, so that's even better.
Good.
So,
Good.
but
Beautiful.
again, this is the first 2 issues by Chaikin are good. If you like Chaikin, you can definitely tell where American Flag is beginning to germinate and everything. And if you haven't read American Flag, what are you doing? You need to read American Flag. American Flag is great. It's very much dystopia 80s, trying to project how bad the early 2000s were, and understanding 20 years, 30 years later, that Chaikin's an optimist, which
it's like Archie Comics did the same foolishness when they relaunched the Shadow.
Yeah.
They had the Shadow in his classic Shadow outfit, and then the next issue he was dressed as a superhero.
Yes.
And what the heck did you just do?
And they wonder why sales drop off.
Yeah.
Because
and when they put him in that costume, it was awful.
Yeah.
When they
Oh,
but you also saw the same thing with Sandman too, I think with DC, right?
Yep.
Where you go from the more noir look to this, everybody has to look like a superhero. So
like
everyone's
what's
gonna
with
look
the
like a
spandex?
superhero.
Like, come on, we don't need all that.
I know, but the cool kids think they do. So
yeah, that's true. They need all the spider web slinging things.
Exactly. Now we have some of the singleton issues here, which clearly did not get along that well. I think they were in the second wave, or they never got a chance. So since it's the 70s, we got everybody kung fu fighting.
Right. Yeah. Iron
And
Fist
just in
all
case
that.
you weren't sure by the outfit he's wearing, who he was an homage to.
Yep, that one.
I'm sure the Marvel lawyers took one look at it and said, how about you type me a memo?
Yeah.
Because.
And how come you ripped off the cover too? More or less.
Yeah.
Right? Same kind of pose, same kind of hit.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this is, again, you're talking about the trade dress, right? I love the design on here.
Yep.
That's just a great design.
Yep.
And Jim Craig did the art, but it's clear that, Larry Lieber and the others were saying, okay, you see that real popular book over there, Marvel, the Deadly Hands and the Master of.
Yep.
Give me that.
Yep.
Yeah. Give me your
That's
version.
what we got.
And then one shot later, and then it just. I
And
wonder
I wonder if
they just dropped it after one issue.
Well, maybe they got a phone call or guys in black suits knocking on the door.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I think it is more at that point their sales were such that they were starting to run into real serious problems with their sales and stuff, and that's why it never got any farther. So
yeah.
Oh, hi Gary.
Oh, Gary.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Glad you could join us tonight.
I know.
Mhm.
I think my
You gotta
kid's
stop
got
your
some
people
explaining
from-
to do with this computer.
He's got some explaining to do. Lucy.
Yeah.
Oh, Lucy.
Just as long as you don't ask him what was downloaded, I guess you're all
Exactly.
good. So
Yeah.
anyways. So Gary, we were moving to some of the singletons here, just to kind of to mention some of these titles that could have done something, but for whatever reason didn't. So the multiple genres here, you got your Kid Cody.
Yeah.
Right.
There we go. There's a Jonah Hex ripoff. Great.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I think this is much more of a Marvel Western. This feels more like a Kid Colt Rawhide.
Yeah, like a Kid
combo.
Colt.
Rawhide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kid Cody.
Like I mean, they're not even being real subtle. Look at his vest.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and then you talk
he's a
about the
cowboy.
Comanche
Every
Kid,
cowboy had a
right?
vest.
I
Yep.
mean, again, you want to make sure that you draw your audience there and you claim just enough difference,
Which
Just
is
enough
interesting
difference.
because we're really almost out of Westerns by then.
Yeah.
Like, and I was surprised that Atlas tried a Western because there's not many that are selling.
No, but again, I think their attitude is we're going to throw whatever we can at the wall, and if it sticks, then
just fire
then
everything
it
out.
sticks. And and Kid Colt and Rawhide Kid still had fairly decent circulation numbers at that time.
Yeah.
So while they were not tearing it up, they were also not loss leaders either.
Yeah.
So so they were still doing fairly well, all things considered. So so let's give it a try. They did some more books. I left my Sergeant Striker downstairs, however, so I didn't get that with me. We did mention some of the horror stuff, though. We've got Fright, Son of Dracula.
Oh, now that is wicked.
That's my favorite Frank Thorne cover.
Look at that cover. Holy
this is an awesome one shot.
Wow.
This is one of those that you really, really wish would have kept going because
Son of Dracula. Okay.
Because it is very, very interesting. It's a lot of fun, and like you said. Yeah, exactly, Tina. This cover just rocks.
That just pops.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I love shit like that.
This, even the coloration of him, like it all just is.
I like how they did the top with the kind of the blue with the Atlas, so they muted it a little bit so that the cover pops even better.
Yeah.
So you wonder where Mark Spears got his inspiration to do his monsters.
Well, there you go.
And that was also a really good story too.
Yes. The story here is really the interior art's really good.
Garys.
This is just this product just really snapped, and it's one of those. Again, mentioning the ones that have actually maintained their value. This is one that's actually maintained the value on back issues because of that cover.
Yeah,
and
it's a great cover.
Oh, it is, and it's hard to find in nice.
Frank Thorne just killed it on it.
Yeah. So, and clearly there's lots of killing going on, as you can see, with it being a good.
Oh yeah.
I just
nice
want to make a note that I see my good friend Steve writing that down and that issue down and the title, and I had nothing to do with it for him to spend money. Just saying. That's all on you, Chuck.
Doesn't come up as
statistically speaking, Mark.
Must be Frank.
Steve,
statistically speaking, that's going to happen eventually.
Texted you, right?
Right. He has to put that shit in there. I'm going to call it his fault because he's here. So we're just going to assign blame anyway.
It's the transitive property. That's what it is.
No, but again, another great read, Chuck.
Yes, it is. And here you've got Demon Hunter, which is also a great read too.
Yeah. And another great cover. Like,
yes.
Wow. Look at that.
A fantastic cover. Now, the Demon Hunter looks familiar to you, especially if you're a fan of 1980s Defenders.
Looks very much like that one.
He comes over to the Marvel Universe and shows up in Marvel Spotlight as the Devil Slayer, who is one of my favorite sort of unsung Defenders. Yes, and this is a great tale here. And it's just this is another one of those that I highly recommend if you're going to get one of the one shots. This is a great one shot to get here because it is a really cool read. And again, this cover just really smacks. I mean, this is just that's a cover that would get your attention.
Yep.
If it's sitting out there on the newsstand. So
yeah, it's got that colors like the first appearance of Taskmaster. It's got that same kind of vibe to it.
I love the skull in the background.
Yeah.
I just love that skull in the background really sets off the two characters so well. So
no, Jackson, I don't have that kind of influence on Steve.
And also just a great trade dress on that one too.
Oh yes, a fantastic trade dress. So okay. So we mentioned they tried doing all the different genres here, which means, of course, at this time in the early 70s, you still have sort of the silly Archie knockoff stuff. Okay. So they didn't actually spend money on getting their own Archie stuff. Instead, they reprinted stuff from a series that was gone. The series that was gone was called Tippy Teens. Okay. From Tower Comics. Okay. So here's the Tippy Teen one right here. I think you can figure out what her family lineage is. She is very much in the Archie form. Later on, she really, really morphs much more into an Archie type character and an Archie character and whatnot. They bought the rights to most of the characters, but they had commissioned 4 of them. and I want to say it was the Grim Ghost, Brute maybe, Devilina, and another one, and I don't remember who the fourth one was. So, but anyways, so we got Tippy Teen. So they renamed Tippy Teen, and they renamed her Vicky. Okay, now let's see if I can do this without
8.5.
Look at
That's
that.
right.
8.5.
Now, the Vickies are really, really hard to find. These books are rare. These books are a challenge to track down, and I've got all 4 of them. But it took some hunting to get these. Now they are silly and stupid and awful, and they are Archie clones, and they're good Archie clones, and then there's Vicky.
Bad ones.
Yeah. Bobby, we weren't gonna say anything, but she's
Barely legal Vicky.
it depends what state you're in. So that's all we're gonna say.
Oh wow.
So
You find them over there on X videos.
Yeah.
well, clearly it's in a state that snows, so it's not here. So that I know that much. But these again, you can find them. The last 2 are oversized books, and so that makes it even harder to find. They're more on the giant size, and so you've got that issue with the binding and everything on the end, with the staples coming through and the glue holding and all that other stuff. So, but they're really cool to track down, and this will give you a little bit of a challenge. So, finding these are a bit of a challenge. Now, to transition over to magazines, they did a couple of different magazines. They did 4 magazines. I have 3 of them. The one that I don't have is Gothic Romances, which has a gorgeous Neil Adams cover on it, and is a literal ghost, which means Mark probably has 3 copies lying around in his mausoleum somewhere.
Mausoleum.
It's okay. I had a shot at one on eBay about a month ago. It was at $200, and really thought about pulling the trigger on it, and wish I did, because the only other one that's out there right now is priced at like $900, and it's in much worse shape.
Oh wow.
And a slabbed version sold not too long ago for about $150-$200 in lower grade shape. But you're not gonna find those in high grade. You're not gonna find them. Period. So when it comes to magazines, one of the things they did, as many publishers did, and we should point out that one of the 2 guys running the company was a magazine publisher, is they did monster movie books.
Yep.
And so again, for those of us who are children of the 70s and the 80s, we of course bought these Fangora type monster books.
Ray Harryhausen monsters and
exactly your Harryhausens and everything. These are wonderful to read, and they're fun, and especially if you were into horror movies, this was your thing. And these are your Svengoolie horror movies. These are not your high class ones like Sinners. This is these are the ones that they have one name, them and us, and it's those ones.
How many issues did that thing run?
It ran 4 issues. So there's 1, and here's 4. I just recently got them actually doing research for this presentation.
That is cool.
That's a cool cover.
I thought I had all the Atlas magazines. I was like, I don't have those, and they're a neat read. So, and they're not overly expensive. So for Atlas magazines, at least. That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
The brain and the electricity and everything. I mean,
like, come on.
It looks like lots of fun at parties. So,
yeah.
Bet he gets good Wi-Fi signal, too, unlike Gary. So, it's...
my internet's good and everything else. There's something wrong. I think I'm going to have to do something.
Now, Gary, don't be saying stuff on live that you're going to do to your child.
It's okay. We can... So... All right. As for my tales, I'll save the spec books for last. I was looking for these magazines in like the 90s and the early 2000s because I like magazines. And found out they did a run of horror magazines, and these are called the Weird Tale of the Macabre.
Oh yeah, now that's a cool one.
Yeah. And so you got these awesome covers. They only had 2 issues.
Yeah.
So here's the first one, and you talk about the trade dress, right? The blue against the gray. I mean, just some fantastic stuff there.
Now that one has kind of like that Frazetta, with the guy fighting the spider, right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's the inspiration behind that one.
Now, did they do like the other magazines at the time and credit the cover artist on the inside page?
I don't remember. Let me take a look. That's a very good question.
That's a good question.
Are they black and white inside those ones, or are they color?
They're black and white.
Okay.
Let's see here.
That's the charm of some of these magazines too. Some of the black and white artwork can be amazing, and other times not so amazing.
I do not see a credit for the cover artist. They did say in this issue, though, Pat Boyette, Ernie Cullen, both did art for it.
Oh, well, yeah, the cover is Jeff Jones.
Okay, yeah, well, that makes sense, yes. So, then again, here you go with your black and white interior right here.
Wow,
So,
look at that.
Yeah.
Nice.
yeah.
That reminds me of the EC stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I just didn't know if they actually gave credit on the inside.
How does it smell, Chuck? How does it smell?
It smells like an old book.
Oh, I love that.
It's a great book.
I
So,
love that smell.
and then of course we have number 2 here.
Oh man, that's a wicked
nice.
cover
A
too.
wonderful torture cover, right?
The devils in the background.
Wow.
That's cool. What do we do with witches? We burn them. We
That's
burn.
right. Or we just burn people. So that works too. But again, these colors just are really jump out at you. These really sharp reds, and so
It's amazing how they can draw somebody that looks so sexy yet they're burning to death at the same time.
Okay, Gary, who's the artist on that one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Steve, it helps having
it's
wind
Vallejo.
No, it's Boris.
Yeah, Boris
No
Vallejo.
way.
Vallejo.
Wow.
He doesn't sign it Vallejo, he signs it Boris.
And in fact, you can even see his signature
Yeah.
right there.
Wow.
So,
But I guess me just saying Vallejo's not enough because his son did a lot of covers too.
And he never signs his books Vallejo. He signs them Boris.
I see. There we go. We have now learned something today. So
I'm
That's
just
good.
being a pain in the arse. Anyway.
It's okay, you didn't get me.
right. So my spec book, since she now has an action figure, and everyone seems to be, and the action figures, by the way, are impossible to find. I pre-ordered them and they sold out, which didn't make any sense. So we want to focus on our other one. So we have our Devilina as our spec book here. And yes, there's a reason my fingers are where they are. So yes, she's not quite fully well. Anyways,
It doesn't matter. You can show it on the
The
channel.
Comic Code Authority is not. They don't.
Well, that's
care
why
about
she's
the
in a magazine. So
That's why she's in a magazine.
that's why she's in a magazine.
They are exempt.
And again, the stories in this are pretty good actually. They're they're very much along your Vampirilla tale and everything, and they're not bad. It's a good read. They are hard to find though. These Devilinas especially are really hard to track down. So
How many issues did that go? Was it
there
2?
were 2 because there's your number 1, and here is your number 2.
Wow. She's into
nice.
snakes.
Yeah.
That's freaking wild.
And again, great designs on the covers there. Great designs for the characters. It's a shame they didn't last any longer. But I could see someone making a movie out of her.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And
Very,
it's
very
cool
easy.
just from the red of the first cover to the cool blue of the second.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And she is very,
Hell
very.
of Flame and Hell's Frozen Over.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
But you got an awesome demon right there in the back. So
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
the whole thing with Vampirilla and Devilina. So, Beta and VHS.
yep.
That's a very Joseph Michael Lisner pose.
It is, and it wouldn't surprise me if Linzer, saw a bunch of this stuff growing up. I mean,
I just realized she's carrying a sword. Oh shit!
Yeah, she's got.
I wasn't looking at that.
Yeah, and Linzer would be about the right age too to run into this stuff. So,
she's got something on her leg.
So, her being the first figure, and then and it sold out like crazy.
Yeah,
and the spec on. So, what do you think? Why did that? Why did they decide to figure on Devilina? Because it's an expensive book. It's a hard book to find.
I think partially because she's a sexy woman. And I think that the quality of the stories in here were good enough that the people who remember the series or know about the series, oh, that's very interesting, Jackson. Thank you. I think I've got that Vampirilla too, actually. So
really,
yeah. I think the people who remember the series, who are the target audience for these action figures, have a much stronger love for Devilina than I think they would some of the other characters.
Yep.
And I think when they were looking to pick the characters they were going to do, because I think the Destructor was one of them, the Grim Ghost.
Yep.
They were trying to hit some of the different subgenres, and she just really fit well. I don't think the Destructor figure sold out. Now, it might have. I don't know how many they made.
Well, it depends on the time period too, right? Like if you're making those figures in the 70s, they would have made the men figures and not the ladies. Now the lady figures sell.
Yep.
Right.
Wow. There's a 9.8 on my comic shop of that book for $465.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Wow.
1.5 for $20.
1.5 for $20.
Yep.
You just don't breathe on it, you'll be fine. So
yeah.
Crap, eh?
Is that missing the cover?
That's crazy.
It's probably who knows what that is. So that's all I brought. Again, if you get a chance to look at some of the Gothic romances stuff, that doesn't have as much art inside of it. That's much more prose text and whatnot. And again, more evidence of them just kind of throwing everything at the sink, or everything out there to hope that something was going to take place.
Yeah.
And again, DC experimented with the Gothic romances at the same time,
Yep. Dark Mansions and all that stuff.
That's right. With not a whole lot of sales success, but you're looking back at it.
Yeah, and I'm sure that those covers were inspirations for future projects on different books.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. Yeah, you can see it sprinkled through from influencing books, and like that Vampirella cover. It was reused, right? So,
and I think sometimes like they just they wanted to launch strong, but they tried to capture too much at once.
Yeah. I think there were a whole lot of issues with financial management. I think there are also issues, and I haven't read this per se, but I kind of get the feeling a lot like we saw with some of the independent companies in the 80s, where you get creators making them, but they don't really understand the business side of it. And because they don't understand the business side of it, or you get business side people trying to do it, but they don't understand the creative side. And it's real hard to find a Todd McFarlane, for example, who can figure out who can survive the learning process long enough.
Yep.
And none of their characters were appearing in each other's books either.
No.
I mean, the closest you had was Thrilling Adventures, but none of them were in each other's stories.
Exactly.
Yeah, there was no crossovers. There was no universe. Wasn't, which all you had to do is look at Marvel and DC to see how effective that is.
Yeah, you got to know your market. You got to know
it is,
customer.
but then you look at the early Image stuff, and outside of each person having their own little mini universe, and then Alan Moore sort of trying to pull it all together with the 1963 miniseries. For a long time, Spawn didn't really cross over with Savage Dragon, and Savage Dragon didn't appear in Wetworks. Not that Wetworks ever appeared, but it's that
the
type
90s
of
was
thing.
a different age. I mean,
but also
the creators were at a different level with the young readership that was coming out then.
And they let their characters last. I mean, Savage Dragon is still being printed.
Right.
Like
Spawn is still being printed.
Yeah, Spawn is.
Evil Spawn and all the Spawn universe.
But who's reading Savage Dragon still?
I mean, but I do like Sam and Twitch, though. That was a nice thing to come out of Spawn.
Witchblade just came back.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that they haven't brought back Gen 13 with how popular that was with J. Scott Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if they relaunch that again with him as the artist again, with his popularity now.
Mm-hmm.
I think Gen 13, I think a lot like some of these other books that we saw here today, is very much a product of its time. And I don't know. Yes, I agree, Jackson. I don't know if Gen 13 would have the same staying power that it had then. It's just a feeling of mine, and and just like a lot of these things here, I don't know how long Destructor would have gone.
Right, and you got Wildcats at DC, and that doesn't even last there. They come out, they keep trying, and it just keeps going back away.
So, and Jackson, I agree with you. I like the shared universes if you can pull it off, but it takes a lot of effort to pull it off. And we've seen the Valiant reboots have not successfully pulled it off, even though they have tried very, very hard to replicate it.
Mm-hmm.
They just haven't been able to do it for whatever reason. So
we need those writers back.
Well, there you go.
There you go, right there, Damien.
There you go.
He's reading
Good.
Savage Dragon and loving it.
Yeah, excellent.
There you go.
yeah. So
Those are good books, Chuck.
well, thank you. I was glad to be
Very
able to
good.
show them off.
No, those were great books, Chuck.
No, I'm sorry. Those were great books, Chuck.
And it was nice of Gary to step in a couple of times there and
Yeah,
hang out with us.
Yeah.
I do what I can for the little people, Steve.
He tries to co-host his own show. It's great.
It's the only way we get on the web.
Oh yeah, trust me. When I pick up my kid tomorrow night, I'm walking him right in here where this is because I use this laptop for
Gotta
one
get a
thing
talking to.
and one thing only, and that's for streaming. It's the only reason I own it.
Got his dial up going right there beside it. Get off the damn phone.
You got to explain to him why the tinfoil is attached to it. So
Right.
Don't touch the damn antenna. I got it right where I want it.
Jackson, I will tell you, I've got every issue except the Gothic Romance. That's the only one I don't have. I've got all the rest of them because the reason I have all these, I got an Atlas kick in the late 90s when I discovered the first couple of ones, and then the obsessive completion person in me decided to try to track everything down. So
That's why I try not to get into new things because then I want all of it.
Yep, comic collectors, eh?
Comic collectors, it's a disease.
It is,
It's a wonderful disease. I love mine. Nice.
Hamster. Jackson, I wouldn't feed a hamster.
Spin, you little bastard. Spin. Run.
I'm kidding. I'm a softie. I once found a hurt squirrel on the sidewalk. His leg was hurt. And my friend Angela and we nursed him back to health. Took him inside, right? And we nursed him back to health. And then I would take him driving with me. I would wear, if I was going to go driving, I'd wear a shirt with a pocket, and he would literally sit in the pocket until and then eventually he got better. Then I released him out in the wild.
And then probably got eaten by a coyote.
And then he immediately got eaten.
Probably because he got soft riding around on my shoulders and stuff all the time.
Well, either that or you offered to help drive the car so you could restart the day again. But,
and I gave him a great name. I named him Greystoke after Tarzan.
There you go.
Wow.
All right.
That sounds like a Groundhog Day version of Gary.
Yeah, that's what I pictured is Gary with the
but it's the squirrel telling me not to drive angry.
All right.
It's reversed.
So,
Don't drive angry.
but Chuck, those are great books, buddy. I love seeing it. I was looking forward to this episode because you know how much I love Atlas Seaboard stuff. That was amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. I had fun collecting them. So.
Oh yeah, we'll do like we normally do. I'm sure you guys got some Joe appearances coming up, so
yeah, all three of us.
Start out like we do with Steve. Steve, what's coming up for you, sir?
The Joe appearance.
Come on, don't steal their thunder.
That's on Friday. It's gonna be. I think you're gonna hear repetition here.
Yeah.
So yeah, the 30th, which is this Friday.
Espresso mail call.
Espresso mail call. Yeah.
That's right.
Maybe we should have just wore our shirts on this show today.
Yeah, we could.
We probably should have. So,
And of course, in the future, you got to look for the return of the Anachronic Comic College of Comic Book Knowledge.
There you go.
That's a tongue twister, that one.
It is. And Mark, are you appearing anywhere on Joe's as well?
Well, I'm going to be on the Espresso Mail Call on Friday. I believe that I might be scheduled for your show on June 5th, but I'm not sure. I'll let you confirm or deny that. But yeah, I believe that's all I got on that.
Don't ruin my upcoming news, Mark.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I'm doing Espresso Mail Call on Friday with these guys.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Chuck, anything coming up for you?
The big thing is Espresso Mail Call, and after that, I'm on a pause for a while. We'll be back with Gary sometime this summer once we get scheduled, where we're going to take a look at 4-color comics from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So that should be a fun little jaunt right in Joe's wheelhouse. So that'll be great.
Excellent.
Nice. And of course, coming up for me, in 2 nights' time, we have Brucifer. We have Brucifer Morningstar making his first appearance on the 1011. So looking forward to that.
Great.
And then, since Mr. Andrews already stated it, we got a cool show coming up with Mark. We're doing a Viewmaster 1011 on June 5th.
Ooh.
I mean, how much fun is that? And just another peek into the museum of Mark Andrews.
That's cool.
Viewmasters rock. Anyways,
right?
They do.
Yep, I remember looking at those back as a kid.
You can. Don't worry, Jackson. You won't miss your chance to troll them on Friday.
Yeah.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yes, Viewmaster. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
Like, I can't wait because there were so many different Viewmasters made. I can't even wait to see what you bring with you.
God.
Yep. There may be a little bit of Travato clause enacted. Just
I hope so. Just a wee bit, huh?
Just a wee bit. Yeah.
Nice. All right. And guys, thank you so much to Mark and Steve, especially tonight for carrying on when my computer decided to kick me a few times. Thank you, gents, for
that's what we do.
The show moving forward.
No problem.
Yeah.
And I'll rewatch it and see what you said about me while I was gone. No,
all good. All good.
We got rid of that bastard.
All good.
Finally, it's the Bob and Doug McKenzie show.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Take off, eh? All right. And of course, there's no show without a guest. Chuck, thanks again for coming on, buddy. And I look forward to you co-hosting some more in the future as well.
Thank you very much.
And in a couple months, we'll have you back for something else that's really cool.
All right. Sounds like fun.
But, thank you so much. And to everyone that joined us tonight, thank you so much. And thanks for putting up with the internet taking me out. I know that was Jackson's favorite part, so I'm glad you got to enjoy something tonight, Jackson. And until next time, you guys know how we like to end this thing. We are going to say thank you for watching and keep it casual.